are you ready? My name is Bailey Carpenter, and this is video 1 out of 4 for lesson 1 out of 4. Action. Today, students, we are going to learn about essay construction with narrative techniques. The whole point of this lesson is to learn and develop ways to use narrative techniques in essay construction to form a persuasive tone and constructive style. Now, all of my 12th grade seniors here can see that my handy-dandy desk, where I'm currently sitting, as well as my whiteboard, will give you prime examples for what a narrative essay is and isn't. First, I will start out with my class by asking all of my students what they think a narrative essay is about. My students may ask or tell me questions or answers such as, a narrative essay is a persuasive essay. A narrative essay is a story. A narrative essay is a research paper. And no matter how correct or incorrect these answers are, my students simply trying and participating is enough. I would like to hand out all of my students example papers of what a good example and what a bad example looks like in the flesh. Some things I would begin to write on the board as they were to look at these papers were a good and a bad list. In our good list, we have strong title. We have sources. We have credible sources. I would write down a quality intro that's attention grabbing. I would write down multiple body paragraphs that give us some oomph to the paper. On the bad side, I would write, maybe too short, too long, no title or a bad title, stuff that doesn't make sense, typos, that sort of thing. And then I would go into my portion where I'd say to the students directly, which out of these is the most important and which is the least important? Their answers based on my questions tell me how much they're learning versus how much they think they're learning. Let me give an example. Here we go, class. I'm going to give out a handout at the end of class, and which is due the next day as homework as a formative assessment. On this would say, what is a narrative essay? What did you learn that the narrative essay does for the reader as well as the writer? What can make a narrative essay strong? What can make a narrative essay weak? And what are some good tips to get started on recognizing a narrative essay? I would probably give 10 to 15 minutes for my students to answer, and then I would collect them the next day once the students have had some time to think on it. And then we would be able to go over it in class. For the next portion of my teaching segment, I would focus on not only the students knowing, but also the students performing. So, class, are we able to begin writing a narrative essay? Blah, 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 the answer or not. And I would say no, we're not ready to begin a narrative essay. That is in lesson number 2. Now, although beginning it is very important, getting a base of knowledge and understanding of what a narrative essay is versus what it's not, and being able to begin it and being able to critique it is all part of the process. Something that I wanted to touch on with my students here is I don't want any of you to fall through the cracks, and I don't want any of you to misunderstand anything I say. So anyone who needs any accommodations or me to repeat or re-explain in a different fashion any part of this lesson is welcome to speak up. And if you don't want to speak up during the class period, you can come and see me privately afterward. Now that we have that taken care of, I want all of you as my students to begin dissecting these example essays that I gave you and tell me what you think was some big strengths and big weaknesses. And you can go ahead and write them on the paper, but The whole peer review is in lesson 4. I'll give them maybe 10 minutes to do so. They can mark them up in any way they see fit. And then I would like to collect them anonymously, stapled together, in order to see the kinds of strengths and weaknesses my students have as a whole. That way, the next day, when they bring back their handout of what an essay is or what it isn't, I can compare those handouts with the marked up example essays in order to align my learning and figure out what I need to improve on and what I did well on and what they understood versus what they thought they understood or what I thought they understood. Being able to mesh these ideas together then creates a lot more of a solid working plan, creates a deeper, more knowledgeable base for my students, and it helps me propel them as students as their teacher. So I'm going to finish out my lesson with not only opening up for questions, comments, or concerns, and also leaving my students with the idea that it's okay to Google what a narrative essay is. It's okay to ask someone who you know what a narrative essay is. But at the end of the day, here in this classroom is where we're going to figure out what a narrative essay is, and then in lesson plan number 2, we're going to figure out how to start it, how to talk to each other about it, how to talk to me about it, and figure out what you want to do based on topic, also based on what you just learned. And I would finish out by saying good luck to all of my students. I wish you well. Please contact me if you have any questions. Feel free to ask your parents. They may or may not know, but they're always there for you. And see you next time.